Hillary Clinton appeared at the Munich Security Conference and got to speak in front of the world for the first time in a while in this public of a forum, at least from what I've seen. And she went extremely viral for smacking around rhetorically a co-panelist, Peter Masinka, who's the deputy prime minister of the Czech Republic, and was being kind of defensive of Trump. And Hillary Clinton was just, say what you will about Hillary Clinton. She brought it at this panel. And I want to show you some clips starting with this, where the host asks about Ukraine and how a potential split on how to react to Russia's invasion between the United States and Europe could restructure the world order in a profound way. Hillary answers the question, but then that co-panelist, Peter, brings up woke. Like, really think about how could a question about Ukraine shift to people in America think there's more than two genders? That's literally going to happen in the clip that you saw.
But in this particular one, a security issue, one that involves international law, whether countries still respect those international laws laid down after the Second World War, do you think that that brings a new rift within the West? Ukraine, the US's position.
You're talking to me?
Yes, I am.
I think that the Trump administration's position toward Ukraine is disgraceful. I think the effort to force Ukraine into a surrender deal with Putin is shameful. I think the effort that Putin and Trump are making to profit off the misery and death of the Ukrainian people is a historic error and corrupt to the nth degree. And so I believe Ukraine is fighting for our democracy and our values of freedom and civilization, on the front lines, losing thousands of people and having their country destroyed by one man's mania to control them. And I think Trump either doesn't understand or could care less about that suffering. So that's what I think.
And so do you think he has destroyed the West, to go to our title?
He has betrayed the West. He's betrayed human values.
So just the quickest pause to request that you click the subscribe button, the simplest, easiest, freest way, completely free, to support the work that we do. Right below the video, click that subscribe button. Back to the video. Let's be honest, she's nailing it. She's nailing it. Connecting his approach to Ukraine and his wavering support and misunderstanding of the topic and affinity for Putin and the red carpet being rolled out and all that, combined with his broader policies of alienating our allies, degrading international cooperative agreements while bolstering, in many cases, our adversaries, that is having a horrible effect on the West or us and our allies. And it kind of sounds like, hey, who could disagree with that point? Makes sense. And then this guy, Peter, the Czech Republic deputy prime minister, you know him, he jumps in and is like, well, why do people think there's more than two genders? It really reminds me of my peers' appearance, where I'm like, hey, can we talk about authoritarianism? And they're like, what about transport? That's pretty authoritarian.
He's betrayed the NATO Charter, the Atlantic Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. A lot of what has been done before to try to make sense of how difficult it is to restrain people who want unaccountable power. And none of us in this room, including all of us on this panel, would choose to live under a regime that was so unaccountable that it could act with impunity the way that Putin does, except that's who Trump is modeling himself
I don't think we would be having this debate under that kind of regime, for sure. We will come back, I suspect, to the conservatism and liberalism clash within the West, but thank you for that. Peter, do you agree that the Trump administration's actions on Ukraine have produced a rift in the West?
Well, first, I think you really don't like him.
You know, that is absolutely true. But I really, not only do I not like him, I don't like him because of what he's doing to the United States and the world. And I think you should take a hard look at it if you think that there is something good that will come out of it.
Well,
Peter,
what I think Trump is doing in America.
So this is where it gets good. Okay, let me just pause it for a second. Let's get let's get prepared. Already, he kind of tried to trivialize. Take it down. Let me make sure I get the name correctly. Peter Masinka, we'll say, I think is the correct pronunciation. And he already kind of tries to trivialize what is a globally consequential point she's trying to make, which is what I explained before, and how the intertwined relationships that have helped to stabilize parts of the world and have bolstered prosperity are being chopped up by what Trump is doing. And then he goes, you really don't like Trump. Dude, bro, chill. Take this seriously, please, sir. But then he's going to connect this to, well, this is all just a big reaction to wokeness and cancel culture. And so then Hillary will go, oh, okay, so because you're uncomfortable with a particular... because you're uncomfortable with some woke college students, Ukraine should suffer?
And the world, and I think you should take a hard look at it if you think that there is something good that will come out of it.
What I think Trump is doing in America, I think it is reaction for something for some policies that really went too far from the regular people, too far from reality. So, we saw the cancel culture. We saw the woke revolution. I don't agree with the gender revolution, the climate alarmism.
Which gender? Women having their rights?
Let Peter go on.
I think there are two genders. So, but some of us think that there is more than one or more than two gender. I think there is male and female, and the rest probably is a social construct. So this is something that went too far.
But does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine who are on the front lines dying to save their freedom and their two genders, if that's what you're worried about?
Can I please finish?
Oh, I know that Hillary Clinton wants to appeal to a certain population of voters. Is this a true story? I'm blanking. Didn't she say she always keeps Tabasco in her? Yes, she did. In her bag. But I didn't know she could bring the fire. Okay? I didn't know that she could smack around Mr. Peter here. Because that's a brilliant way to respond. Don't get into the weeds on well, technically, people aren't arguing that there isn't biological sex, but can you imagine? No, she goes, so what does that have to do with Trump failing in his global responsibility to the United States and our allies? If you're concerned about the two genders, then don't you want people to stop dying of the two genders? Because Trump's not helping with that. Wow.
But does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine who are on the front lines dying to save their freedom and their two genders, if that's what you're worried about?
Can I please finish my points? I'm sorry that it makes you nervous. I'm really sorry for that.
It makes me nervous. It makes me
but seriously, can we let Peter finish, please? Can we let Peter finish, please?
I have to say one more thing. You said that Ukraine fights for our future and for our freedom. I think first, Ukraine fights for Ukraine's future, Ukraine's freedom, and Ukraine's sovereignty and independence.
She said that too. She just said that. Her point is to rally their allies. A pretty powerful way to do so is explain how Ukraine's victory is their allies' victories. Right? Obviously, yes, Ukraine first and foremost is fighting for themselves. But Hillary is connecting this back to why the United States has some role or obligation in supporting. And this is funny. I don't even know who this guy is. It's so funny how quickly someone can fall into an archetype. I'm already picturing him. I don't know him. I like to think I'm informed. I didn't know who the Deputy Prime Minister of the Czech Republic was. Guilty. And he's acting just like just a random MAGA guy here. Where first thing he does about a very important topic is talk about a much less important one, which is random people trying to use definitional debates to make more stretchy concepts of gender or sex, or people exploring the complexities of social roles and identity and the social contract of certain things versus the biology of things. And he brings that up when it makes no sense. So MAGA. So he's already MAGA. Then he moves back to what they're actually supposed to be talking about and makes a completely irrelevant point because he feels like he got beat up by Hillary Clinton. So he wants to fight back, but he doesn't even know where he could fight back. So he says, well, actually, they're fighting for their future, not your future. Shut up. You knew her point. And then watch his next final conclusion.
So we should help them, of course. But what I see on some people in the West, they are trying to help the Ukraine. But that's another question. I don't know if Trump's administration is helping the Ukraine to stop the war. I believe that there is such an approach. I don't see any other strong geopolitical player.
And then his conclusion is, but I don't know. So, irrelevant point he starts with. Then he tries to take a shot at Hillary because he kind of felt offended that she called him out. Doesn't answer the question. Then ultimately he gets to the actual question at issue, which is Trump, how his relationship with Ukraine is an exemplification of his broader abandonment of our relationship with a global community that shares our values, and how he's degrading that group of countries. And the guy goes, and so as it pertains to the actual question, I don't really know. Dude, put on a MAGA hat, brother. Shoo-y dog. You're MAGA. That was such a MAGA answer. Then the Hillary Clinton team posted this video from the same event.
It is, for me, a blessing that freedom was expanded to include, in the United States, for example, the right of black people to be treated at least better than they had been for 400 or so years. It was a culmination of freedom for women to be given their rights much more fully than they had been. It was, I think, a dramatic recognition of human dignity for gay people to be able to be treated without fear and even marry, which to me is creating a family. So, I understand conservative impulses. I understand we are fighting an ideological battle that is as old as time. There are those of us who are more comfortable in a more open, tolerant world. And there are those who have their concerns about it because they worry about the impact on existing institutions like the family, community, and others. So this really, yes, migration has been a huge flashpoint. More people were deported under my husband and Barack Obama without killing American citizens and without putting children into detention camps than were in the first Trump term or this first year of Trump's second term. So I think it's important to look at the facts, because very often the ideological impulse to try to protect the status quo or return making America great again in some nostalgic past that existed for white men and capitalist enterprise was not exactly open and welcoming to people who look like me and a lot of other people who are part of our national fabric. I have no argument with the necessity of trying to figure out how do we form families. I'm very proud of my family. I'm proud of my 3 grandchildren. I am proud to be part of that tradition. That doesn't mean everybody has to be. That doesn't mean everyone who doesn't have children is somehow an illegitimate human being. So how do we make the case in a positive way, not a bullying and very shameful way? So this debate that's going on is driven by an effort to control people, to control who we are, how we look, who we love, and I think we need to call it for what it is.
So I missed some of the context there because a lot of what she's saying connects to a bunch of different issues, or she could have been asked multiple different questions, but that was the clip they posted, and I find that interesting because I wonder about this a lot, where it's so aggravating that conservatives, because they're speaking in such an aggressive way and we should make society force people into these particular roles type of way, it sounds like they care more about people building families or happy and healthy families, or they care more about the importance of marriage or how that could be beneficial societally or raising kids. And it's like, the way she worded it was, there's definitely a positive way to encourage people to build strong families. And there's positive ways to advocate for healthier, happier, more prosperous, more productive families. That isn't, you have to do life this way or that way. And then she slipped in this point, but we referenced it earlier in the show. The fact that Obama and Clinton have the record they do on immigration enforcement kind of debunks the idea that the only way you can do significant immigration enforcement is to engage in the sort of authoritarian overreach that the Trump administration is. And that's kind of what she's referencing there. But then the other thought I was having while watching this is, I think because Hillary lost to Trump and because of just a broader vibe around her, a lot of, even I have kind of like forgotten of her as a political figure. Not literally, but just she hasn't been present. Even in the same way Obama has been more present in recent years in politics. And it's fascinating how, with all of her flaws, she clearly would have been such a more competent president than Trump. And we could go, watching this was making me go like, this all started with America choosing Trump over her. I'm not looking past her her problems, the reason her candidacy wasn't popular enough, and major areas where she's gone wrong. But just in the contrast between the intelligence, just on that alone, of her and Trump talking, can you imagine him ever talking about any issue like that with that level of coherence? Because we've now lived through so much of Trump, Hillary seems like such a distant memory. But you remember, that's where this kind of all started. Was in part because of her not running a good enough campaign and her record and all of that. But also just Americans looking at the two options and saying, yeah, let's go with Trump. And once again, just comparing their ability to speak substantively on an issue, it's pretty jarring that's the decision America made.